And now to another part of the world, because it has been a very big day in Beijing, with 20 leaders of basically anti-Western or neutral states and a vast Victory Day parade. The summit there includes Russia, China, North Korea and India. Some people think that India's Narendra Modi has been pushed into this alliance by ham-fisted Trump tariffs imposed upon it. And so is this the new geopolitical shape of the world, dominated by an alliance which is military but also economic and resolutely anti-Western? Let's talk now to David Lubin, the Senior Research Fellow in the Global Economy and Finance Programme at Chatham House. David, thank you very much indeed for joining me. Can I ask, first of all, about India in all of this? Because the notion that you've now got three big nuclear powers all shoulder to shoulder must worry people in Washington and in Europe.
Yeah, and it's entirely of Washington's making. If you take the tariffs on their own, the tariffs that Trump imposed on India as a way of, trying to convince India not to buy Russian oil, given the fact that China responded with such defiance to the tariffs that Trump put on China, it was always inconceivable that Modi could do anything other than respond with defiance himself. Otherwise, Indian voters would be pointing at him saying, why does China have a leader that kind of confronts Donald Trump and we don't? So the fact that, in a way, China established a kind of template for aspiring great powers to respond to Trump. But there's background to it because the relationship between New Delhi and Washington had been deteriorating for some time, not just because of the tariffs, but also primarily because of Washington's kind of effort to sidle up to Pakistan. And so for all sorts of reasons, Trump, in effect, kind of delivered Modi to Xi Jinping as a neatly wrapped gift.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, it does look, on the face of it, an awesome alliance. You see them all there, and you've got an awful lot of the world shoulder to shoulder. But if this is an American mistake or an American creation, that's one thing. Clearly, militarily, this is a very powerful group of countries. But what about the economics? Because Xi Jinping seems to be wanting it to be more of an economic alliance, helping each other, than it's been in the past.
Yes, I think it's first important to kind of correct the phrase you used of alliance. This is, what there is not a lot more than symbolism. I mean, there's certainly not an alliance there. And the Chinese government would certainly deny any intention to form an alliance. And I think the idea of India forming any kind of military cooperation with China is beyond.
Well, they're against each other, really, aren't they?
Beyond the pale, that's right. But the economics, so you've got this kind of symbolic win, very important symbolic win for Xi Jinping. And it's an important win for him because in order for China to present itself as a responsible alternative pillar of global order, the support of the global South is extremely important to China. But I would argue that China isn't quite making the most of the gift that Washington seems to be offering it, in the sense that there are lots of reasons for other developing countries to be a bit irritated with the economic policies that China is expressing.
Is that because China is striking very, very hard bargains?
Yes. I mean, in a way, I think there are a number of things. First of all, whereas China used to be a net lender to developing countries, it's now taking net repayments from developing countries. And also it's running an ever larger trade surplus with developing countries. I mean, just as Western economies are getting upset about having cheap Chinese goods dumped on their markets, there are plenty of developing countries, Brazil, Turkey, and many others, who feel the same way. So the trade relationship between China and other developing countries is far from what it could be. The simplest solution from China's point of view to improving its trade relationship with developing countries would be to deliver macroeconomic stimulus to the domestic economy, let the exchange rate strengthen, and basically allow China to import more from these countries.
But no sign of that yet. This might seem a very bizarre question because we've seen him shaking hands and smiling in absolutely the centre of things. But is Xi any longer really the absolute leader of China? Because there's been rumours, there's been people writing saying actually he's now a kind of front man, he's a symbol, and there are much more powerful figures behind him.
I don't think I can comment responsibly, Andrew, the Chinese politics takes place within the blackest of black boxes. And I think
okay, we're not going to go
the
into
rest
that.
of the world knows about elite Chinese politics is precisely zero.
That's really interesting. We won't go into the black box. We'll say thank you very much indeed. Instead, David Lubin there from Chatham House. Thanks so much.